Welcome to the Forging Podcast, where our mission is to forge guys into godly husbands, fathers, men, and leaders in their communities. We push out of our comfort zone, face our fears, and grow stronger every day. We strive to be selfless providers, dangerous protectors, loving husbands, fathers, and friends. I hope you all enjoy the podcast. Welcome back to the Forging Podcast. Okay, this is take two. I'm not gonna lie. We tried to get this going and I screwed up the audio, so we're going for it again. I'm getting rusty, I guess, from not doing it as often as I was. So I'm here. Brett and Adam are busy as usual, but we're hanging in there. We're doing the best we can. They're doing the best they can. And at some point, when we kind of get caught back up, we will rejoin and take on the world. So we've been in talks and kind of, I've talked with some listeners, etc., about different ideas for the podcast. And one of them that's been a pretty common thing would be testimonies. And so I thought today would be a good day to sit down with someone, do a testimony, and kind of get that kind of series kicked off. And so I don't know how often we'll do testimonies, but we're going to at least start, and maybe we can do one a month or one every couple months or whatever we can do. But we're going to throw them in there. And so I thought it'd be cool if I started off that whole series type thing with my dad. And so what I figured is I'll have him kind of give a backstory of how he grew up and then how he came to Christ, and then have him brag on his most amazing son at some point. Oh. You know, it doesn't have to start right away, but at some point, Dad. Oh, man. So you moved up here with me and my family.
Hamilton, Alabama. And people ask, why in the world we moved up here?
I know. It's so crazy. It's like, why would you move from Paradise to here? And it's like, Paradise is all, in the eye of the beholder, I guess.
Yeah.
It's nice down there, but if being around a gajillion people and just having a chaotic, busy life is Paradise, well, then it's for you. But if you want the serenity of living in the country and just an easy, slower paced life, these small towns is where it's at. Yeah. So, we're from Sarasota, which is a bigger town. Now, there is small towns out there that are slow pace on all that, but we just went full bore, move out of the state, move north with the Yankees.
Yeah. With the Yankees, yeah. There's more Yankees in Florida than there is in Alabama.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, man. But do you want to give a little story on moving here, or you want to get back from the start of when little J.D. Miller was running around in cloth diapers?
Yeah, cloth diapers, that's right. And a dress. We had to wear a dress for 2 years.
What?
As a kid. Yeah, the boys all wore dresses because it was easier to change diapers.
Well, that makes sense.
So
you could just leave the diaper off and just let them poop and pee as you go.
No. We weren't in a chicken coop. But anyhow, yeah, I grew up grew up a little Amish boy in Iowa. Cold. It was 30 degrees below zero. I'll get to that later on in a testimony, but it would go down to 30 below zero. And but the summers were, of course, nice, and we grew up with all the rules and regulations, but we didn't think about it. That was just, they told us what we had to do, and we did it.
Yeah.
And we had a great life. That Amish life is a great life. It's just it's the regulations and the rules that kind of get to you as you get older. So as you get older, you wonder, why in the world do we have to do that? And we look across the street, and there's the other guy out there farming with the tractor, and we got to use horses to do the plowing and all that, and it takes 10 times longer. But anyhow, that's how you grow up, and you don't think anything of it. So we grew up working as young kids. We worked from, I don't know when we started, but I started doing my chores before I went to school at 5 years old. And we would then walk to school, be there by 9 o'clock. And it was a public school. It was all the neighborhood kids in the area would come and go to school there. So we worked, we had to learn how to talk English because we never talked English until we got to school. Talked Dutch, Pennsylvania Dutch, or we read German, talked Dutch, and had to learn how to speak English. It was kind of screwed up. But
that sounds pretty confusing.
Yeah, that's what we did. But anyhow, it was a great life. And as I grew up, I went from the first grade. We had a one-room schoolhouse. And we had the kindergarten all the way up to the 8th grade in that one room. They just had their sections where they stayed in. The teacher would go around each section to help them. And then if the younger kids that didn't know how to speak English, they had to get help from the older kids that already knew how. But it was a challenge, but we made it through. And we loved it. We had good neighbors. But anyhow, went through the 8th grade. And when I got out of the 8th grade, I got my 8th grade diploma. And I was at home for 1 week. I went to school all these years, and I was at home at night, of course, and in the summer. And in the summer, I helped my dad bale hay and all that kind of stuff. We did whatever we had to do. But once you get through the 8th grade, I was 14 years old, and I was home for 1 week, and then I worked out. My dad hired me out to a neighboring farmer, and he would pick me up Monday mornings, and I would stay right there, and I would work for him until Saturday night. I saw my family 1 day a week, or 4 days a month, is all I saw my family.
Which is kind of strange, because you think of the Amish as like very family oriented, but then to send your kid off for a week at a time, it's kind of the opposite of that.
But my older brother, I had 2 older brothers, they worked out too. They did the same thing. They worked out all week, and then they would come home on the weekends or on a Sunday. So, I kind of enjoyed it because I could drive tractor, and I could milk cows with a milker, and all this stuff. I had electricity to work with, and had the radio going. And way back then, the Beatles were on the radio, and I kind of enjoyed the Beatles. Little Amish boy listening to the Beatles. But anyhow, we, and from then on, I worked for somebody all the time until I was 18 years old. And my older brother had left the Amish, and he had a car. Actually, he was second from the oldest. He had a car because you join the church, and then you have to abide by the rules.
Yeah.
And if you don't abide by the rules, you get kicked out of the church, and they have some kind of miting on you where they shun you for all this stuff, and you can't associate with anybody. It's a long story, but you can't even eat with the family. It's stupid the way they have to. They have all these rules in there to make the people listen. And if you don't listen, then of course you have to suffer the circumstances.
So can we touch on that a little bit?
Yeah.
So, because you've gone back to family reunions, and how do they treat you now that you're way far away from ever being Amish again. Like, how do they treat you when you go back?
Well, most of the people from Indiana, well, see, when I went through a lot of different things. In fact, the government, when I was 8 or 20 years old, my government sent me to Chicago for 2 weeks. I worked in a hospital, and I was gone. Maybe every 6 months or so, I'd come home. But I worked in a hospital. I was actually a cook in a big hospital. I cooked for patients. But that's what we did for our 2 years of service. We worked in big hospitals and helped people. Mostly, some of these people worked in mental hospitals, which I worked in just a regular general hospital in Evanston, Illinois, which was a suburb of Chicago. But I lived in Chicago. And, when you come off the farm and you live in Chicago, that's just a whole different thing.
That's a culture shock.
Yeah. You ride on these street buses, and the subway that goes through there goes downtown Chicago, and I'd go downtown and jump off at the Wrigley Field and watch the ball game, or Kaminsky Park and watch the ball game, the White Sox and the Cubs. Every once in a while, I'd just go by myself, do whatever I wanted to do. And but anyhow, that was another story. But when I got back, my brother and I were going to work together on the farm, and I was breaking a colt, or a little pony, for a neighbor, and the pony slipped and down on my leg and broke my leg. So I was laid up. And my mom took care of me. And when I was able to work again, I told Mom that I just can't work in the fields and on the farm because it's just too uneven. I said, I think I need to go to Indiana, work in the trailer factories. And I was just testing her to see what she would say, and she said, that's a good idea. So that's why I went to Indiana. And of course, it's a long story, but I went to Indiana, and I ended up living with a bartender just down the street about, I don't know, maybe a block or so from the bar, and I'd go down the bar quite a bit. And finally got a car, started driving a car again. And it just went from one step to another. And then finally the preachers came and wanted to talk to me because I joined the church in the meantime. Way back then, I joined the church because Mom wanted me to join the church. And once you join the church, then you have to go by the rules. And I wasn't going by the rules, so they wanted to kick me out of church, which they did.
Yeah.
And that was fine. But I'd go home. The thing is, my parents were different than 99% of the other parents, the Amish. I could go home anytime I want, drive my car in the yard, and they would accept me just the way I was. And but a lot of the other Amish, they can't even drive their car at home. They have to drive the car down the road, walk home, put on their Amish clothes, and visit their mom and dad. Well, I didn't have to do that, which was a big help for me. But anyhow, finally I left the Amish, and I started working in a mobile home factory when I was in Indiana, and that's where I got my start. It wasn't long till I had a little farm, house, 7 acres, and had a barn, a house, and a little chicken house, which I finally sold, and I cut an acre off of my property and put a mobile home in it and lived in that and rented the other out. But I don't know, it just seemed like I was just able to save money because my cousin that lived with me, he's driving a little Nova car, working in the same factory I did, and he didn't even have that little car paid off. And here I had a little farm plus my mobile home, and the car was paid off. So anyhow, do you got any questions about anything?
Well, I don't know that you actually covered when you go back home and sit with the Amish.
Oh.
And eat.
Well, here's the thing. The bishop that helped us in Wisconsin lived in Indiana, so I went and talked to him once I joined the church, because I was out in the world, what they call the world. I was out in the world drinking, carousing around with all these kind of weird women. And didn't have to fight them off, but it was kind of crazy. But of course, you meet all kinds when you go to the bar. But my life was just making money and working. And then when I decided to join the church, I would go to the restaurant, and the preacher from the Mennonite church sat there, and I would sit with him to eat. I don't know why, but I did. And he'd always invite me to church. He was not religious. Well, he had a little religion in him, but he loved people. So I sat with him to eat, and he'd invite me to church. And the last time he invited me, I said I would come. So I went, got saved. Well, then after I got saved, coming back to Jared's question, I went to see the bishop that actually baptized me. He lived there in Napanee, Indiana. I lived in Topeka. So I went and talked to him and asked if he would take that miting off of me. And he said yes. And he helped me with that, and he got me into the right people. And they took that miting off in Indiana. The Indiana people are a little more advanced than they are in other places. They're not as strict. So he released that miting off of me. So when I go to the family reunions, there's my Amish cousins are there, and some of the others, and they eat with me and all that. In fact, my uncle lived in Pinecraft, Florida, for a while, and he was Amish. And they had a bunch of people over there, and he'd invited us over for dinner. And he told me, just go ahead and eat. Don't wait until last, till everybody else has eaten, and then go and eat. He said, you just get in there and eat. You know, if they have a problem with that, well, he'll take care of it.
Yeah.
So most of the Indiana Amish are different than they are most anywhere else that I know of. They don't hold that against me. And I had a car, a van actually, and I would haul these Amish around here and there, and go in their house and eat with them, and we had a great time. But there is family. The family is the worst. I got a brother that married to a very strict Amish girl, and her dad was a bishop, and he did a lot of shady stuff as a bishop. In fact, he got his oldest daughter pregnant. Maybe I shouldn't have said that on here, but he did, and blamed it on a Mennonite. Didn't have a name, but just a Mennonite, because they didn't like the Mennonites, because the Mennonites left the Amish.
Yeah.
And got cars and all. They always said, well, they think they're better than they are, which they actually were. But anyhow, his daughter, my brother got married to the daughter, and when we were in Florida, they were there, and then they said, hey, your brother's here, why don't you come and visit with us? And then they said they're going to eat at a restaurant. Well, we got into the restaurant, and I was sitting pretty close to my brother and his wife, and she whispered over to her husband that they can't eat with me because I'm kicked out of church or whatever. But in their church in Michigan, they didn't take the miting off of me, I guess, or the shunning. They call it shunning or whatever they call it. So she's still froze in her old religion. And so I just got up and left. In fact, my younger son was with me then, and we just got up and left and let them eat by themselves. But
so will they get in trouble with their bishop if they're seen with someone that's kicked out of the Amish?
Possibly, yes. Well, yeah, they might get a talking to if they would have been caught with eating with me or anybody that was kicked out of church. They would have got, and if they wouldn't have done it again, they'd have been all right. But if they had kept doing it over and over, then they would have got kicked out. Yeah,
that's interesting.
But it's a long story. It's probably a 4-hour story if you just want to get into everything. But
no, that's okay. I just wanted you to touch on kind of your upbringing. A lot of people are fascinated by the Amish, and we'll see if we get any feedback that people really want to hear.
Different what they want to hear. Maybe they have questions about something.
Yeah, if they have questions or stuff, we can.
But the Amish lifestyle is a great lifestyle, but it's just the rules and regulations, and actually, the bishops, they kind of control everything, and they have favor with their family. Their family can get away with stuff.
Of course.
And the others that they don't like, which they didn't like my mom because she wanted to get the Bible in the church, and that was strictly against them. They wanted the English Bible. They wanted us to speak. They wanted us to teach out of the German Bible.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I thought you told me about that before, that you guys had a German Bible in the church. And we couldn't understand to read it.
We didn't even understand it. We finally knew how to read it, how to read German. I learned how to read German, but I didn't understand the words.
Okay.
Until, if you really would have got into it, you would have. But we had to speak, they couldn't read English because you'd understand the Bible, and then you'd know that their rules and regulations were not right. So
it was pretty much you were at the mercy of the bishop for your teaching and your learning of God's word.
But the Amish,
the Millers are rebels.
Yeah, they're rebels. They were. But the thing of it is, the Amish broke away from the Catholics, and the Catholics had Latin. They preached in Latin, which was what, Spanish? They preached in Latin. They didn't speak the English. And when the Catholics wanted to get the Bible, that was a little bit frowned on because they didn't want them to understand what the Bible says so they can control their people. Yeah. So that was all about controlling, kind of like the Democrats. Anyhow, so they that's the reason for there. They said, well, the Amish should teach German, because they shouldn't read English. But anyhow, it was.
Well, like you said though, once the people understand God's word, then they can see through all the lies. I think that's why there's so much division in the churches now, because certain
denominations
want to preach a certain way, and that's the gospel. But then when people start getting in the word themselves, they learn, well, it's kind of skewed a little bit here and it's skewed a little bit there, and it's amazing how many people fully put their trust in the pastor and don't get in the word themselves.
Yeah.
And that's why we get in trouble, because we kind of, in a sense, treat the pastor as if he is God.
Yeah, that's right.
Which he should be honest, but people are people. So they have agendas usually.
Yeah, they do. And
so then what kind of led you away from the Amish and then into accepting Jesus?
Well, when I went to Indiana, of course, then I left the Amish, and I moved in, like I said, I moved in with a bartender.
Yeah.
And I worked in a mobile home factory and made more money than I ever saw in my life, because we just made crazy money in Indiana. We worked piece rates, and we made good money, and I would go, every time I get a check, I'd go to the bank and put it in the savings account. Pretty soon I had enough money to buy a home and buy a car, do whatever I wanted to do.
So let me ask you this. What in life, was it your dad? Was it the Amish lifestyle? What was it that taught you how to manage money properly? Because I struggle with that, which but most people do.
Yeah.
So what happened with you? Did your parents teach you much about money, or?
Well,
they taught you to work.
No, when I was working, when I got out of school and I was working, I never got my money when I was at home. In fact, the Amish don't get their own money until they're 21.
So did you get back pay?
No. No. In fact, some people.
That's like slave labor.
Yeah. No. When I was 18, I wasn't old enough to keep my own money, but I would send my mom money. My dad got killed in a freak accident in a lumber yard, but anyhow, I'd send my mom money, and finally she said, "Don't send any more money because I don't need it." So I said, "Okay, that's good." But
you earned a bunch and gave.
I earned money. Yeah, I had plenty of money. I always had money. But I don't know. I never had much money growing up. And when I started getting money, I saved it. I didn't splurge on stuff. Like a lot of people, they just see something and they buy it. Like some people, I won't mention any names, but some people, they spend the money. They know they're going to get this money. They spend it before they get it.
Yeah.
And
or they go to Florida on vacation and come home with a new truck and a motorcycle. It happens. It happens. You know, what can you do about it?
But anyhow, women like to spend money. And so I always tell my wife she can have anything she wants, but she's going to have to pay for it. So that kind of curbs everything right there.
Well, that's been a blessing for me because Autumn's actually really good at managing money. I mean, she does the Dave Ramsey envelopes where you put the money in the envelope.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, she's good at taking no income and making it look like we make something.
Yeah. I actually lended money to my brother, my older brother. Lended money to him. When I was in Chicago, I just sent it home to him because he needed it on the farm. So I don't know how I got into the money thing, but I did. But anyhow, when I got, let's see, where was I?
Well, you were moving into, let's see, you were talking about making a bunch of money, working in the mobile home factory. Yeah,
you just make crazy money working in a factory.
If you hustle.
Yeah. I went in there and we ran. When you know what you're doing, when you start working, you're running from the time you start until you're done.
Yeah.
Then you go home and
crash.
That's right. But it's because you knew you were getting paid for what you're doing. So I just learned how to save money, and I always had money. Never had a problem with money most of my life.
Yeah.
And anyhow, went to I should get into a little bit. Before I got saved, I went to Florida, and actually I got into some kind of business first. I got into the tape business. We were doing the 8-track tapes way back then, 8-track tapes.
Grief.
We had these cases out all over the place. A friend of mine and I quit working in a trailer factory, and they were trying to keep me there. But anyhow, we got into the tape business, and we had tapes, all that, and we had a store. Finally, we bought a building, and we had a store in Topeka, and we had all kinds of stereo equipment, and then we got into CB radios. That's when the CB radios got started. And a lot of truckers would stop there and get their radios. And then I sold that business and went to Florida. And when I got to Florida, I moved in with some people that were in the Amway business. So they talked me in the Amway business, and there was some good money in that. And so I decided to start that. And as I was getting involved in the Amway business, they told me that if I want to help people, that I'm going to have to get my life straightened out, because I was still drinking, going to bars and drinking and smoking and all that kind of stuff. And they told me that and I understood the business, and I wanted it bad. And they told me if I want to help people, that I'm going to have to get my life straightened out first to be able to help other people. And so slowly but surely, I learned, I started reading the Bible, and I learned that there's a lot of different things in the Bible than what I knew. But then when I went back from Florida back to Indiana at that time, I only lived in Florida for 8 months, and then I went back to Indiana for 5 years and built the business. But then I got saved, eating lunch with a preacher once in a while. Not knowing, when he was sitting there, I would just go up there and eat with him. He'd invite me to church. And so before I left Florida that time, I was smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day. And a friend of mine and I, we decided that we're going to quit smoking. We decided to quit, and that's the biggest thing is the decision. You make a decision to quit, and then you can quit. A lot of people say they can't quit. Well, that cigarette's got more power over them than they have themselves. But anyhow, I quit smoking, but I was still drinking. But then when I went back to Indiana and I went to church and got saved, all that stopped. I didn't have any more drinking, of course, I was quit smoking before that.
And you quit smoking just cold turkey.
Yeah. I made a New Year's resolution. They say New Year's resolutions don't work, but I did. And I quit. And I was actually the bouncer at a party, beer party, and we had a band playing. That was in Florida. I was a bouncer, and the guy came up to me. I was at the door watching people that don't come in because we would charge them a little bit of money. And so the guy came in and grabbed my pack of cigarettes, Salem's, menthol cigarettes.
Good grief.
Threw them on the floor, stomped on them, and I said, gee, you could have at least gave me one more cigarette before he said, it's 12 o'clock. You said you're going to quit at 12 o'clock. I said, that's right. And I did, and I never smoked again after that.
And that's cool. That's a testament of having somebody to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
You know, if you didn't have that guy, you think you probably would have quit? You probably would have had another one or two? Or
I don't know. We decided to quit. He didn't. The thing of it is, later on, I found out he didn't quit. And then I moved back to Indiana, and I quit. I didn't smoke again. And then I got saved and quit drinking. But I decided to quit smoking 3 packs a day to nothing, cold turkey. I still went back in the bars, and they'd see me sitting there. They looked at me like, what is wrong with you? You're drinking beer and you're not smoking any cigarettes.
It goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah. And I said, no. I said, I'm going to quit, and I'm going to quit. I made a decision. I'm going to quit, and that was it. And but Wayne, my friend, he kept on smoking, and of course I didn't know it because I was in Indiana, he was in Florida. And then 5 years later, I moved back to Florida, and he was still smoking.
Did you say, what's your problem, dude? You made me quit, and here you are.
Yeah, he's got major health problems. I mean major. And he's 5 years younger than I am.
Wow.
And he just, of course, he drank VO whiskey, and and he was kind of a clown in a beer party. But anyhow, it's easy to quit if you decide that you're going to quit. It's no problem.
Yeah.
Quitting smoking, because I did.
You just got to determine it in your head.
Yeah.
I'm done.
You make up your mind. Of course, I was in the business too, trying to make money, all kinds of businesses. But
so you had a little motivation too.
Yeah.
With that.
Had reasons to quit, but I'm still all these years I used Amway products, and I used their vitamins, which is the best vitamin on the market, and anywhere, because it's made. They have 100% quality control over everything.
Yeah. And
it's all organic, which I don't know how much I can say about that on here, but it really don't matter because I always kind of spoke my mind.
No, not you, Dad.
Now, and then of course, I got married in Florida. It didn't take me long to get married, and had 3 kids, wonderful kids.
Amazing.
We had
especially the middle child. He was probably the absolute best kid anybody could ask for.
Had to be, because I was the middle child too, and I was kind of spoiled.
You were the middle child of how many kids?
9.
9.
Yeah, 4 older, kids. 4 younger.
I've got 3 more to go, Dad.
3, yeah. That's right. And you got some fosters there, so.
I do have some fosters that we can't mention their names, so don't say that.
That's right.
In trouble.
Okay, so anyhow, I don't know if you got any more questions about anything.
Yeah, so you gave your life to the Lord. Did we talk about that yet?
Yeah, gave my life to the Lord, and I never looked back. I went to Florida. I was joined the Assembly of God church.
Okay. Was that like your first church outside of being Amish that you were
No, I joined the Mennonites.
Oh, you did join the Mennonites.
But
okay.
This was a progressive Mennonite. I mean, they were dressed just like we are now.
Oh, okay.
They didn't wear caps.
Okay.
And but they had the Mennonite religion. The Mennonite religion there was very similar to the Baptist here.
Okay.
Very similar. They had, they believed in certain things and didn't believe in other things.
Yeah, yeah.
They didn't let the Bible get in the way of what they believed. But anyhow, I forget where I was at.
Well, you joined the Mennonites.
Yeah, I joined the Mennonites. When I went to Florida, some of my Amway friends were going to the Assembly of God church. And that's where I went. Right away, went to the Assemblies. And they believed in healing. They believed in speaking in tongues. They believed in all this stuff. And I had no problem with that. In fact, I sat up in the front row because when a healing preacher came in, because he knew the Bible well enough to where he could get people healed. But it wasn't, he made sure that we understood that it wasn't him doing the healing. It was God doing the healing. He was just the hand of God, or the voice. It's all voice. Healing is voice activated. You have to speak it out, just like God spoke the world into existence. Is all by voice. So you have to speak it out. Like Mark 11:23 says, speak to your mountain. Don't speak to God about your problem. Speak to your mountain about your problem. In other words, speak to your problems about your problems. So I learned a lot in the Assembly of God church. I became head usher at the one church and had just learned a lot about the Bible and had Sunday school classes and all that. And I've always belonged to a church, never fell back in my old ways, got married, and I was always one wife, didn't step out on her.
Yeah.
And so it was just once I made up my mind to do something, I did it, and I didn't back off. So
yeah, and I mean we were at church pretty much every day. The doors were open.
Yeah, kids grew up in church, and they learned about the Bible at home when we was listening to videos.
Yeah.
From what was those videos?
I'm trying to remember. I mean, our cartoons was Superbook.
Yeah, Superbook. Yeah, that's
we
right.
didn't have all kinds of crazy cartoons
Superbook
until we were older.
Superbook was what they listened to all the time.
Oh, I remember we would go to bed listening to Dan and Louie.
Dan and Louie, yeah.
If nobody knows what Dan and Louie is, you guys are missing out.
That's right.
I forget, it's Dan, I don't know what his last name is, but then Louie was a puppet. And it would go on like these Bible adventures.
Dan was a big, he was big in the Assembly of God.
Okay.
Assemblies of God churches. He was Dan Betzer, yeah.
Okay.
He was big in the church, and he was great. He was a great help for me and the kids.
Yeah.
So.
And we would go to the Tabernacle for a while.
Yeah, we went to Tabernacle.
We started out going to Calvary.
Yeah, Calvary Assembly.
Now, was that Assemblies of God? Or?
Yeah, that was Assembly of God. And then the other church in Bradenton was Assembly of God also.
Okay.
Forget.
And then somehow we moved to the Tabernacle.
Because we lived right close to the Tabernacle, within almost
like right
walking distance. And they were supposed to be a full gospel full gospel church also, but they some of the teaching was a little bit less than full gospel. But we went there for a while, and then
started a Shining Light.
Yeah, and then we went to Shining Light, which was a Rhema church.
That's when I experienced people rolling around on the ground and jumping around and
running around,
running and crying and yelling and. You know, it kind of, when you go on TikTok or on some of these Facebook reels, you'll have clips where it's like, oh, here's Johnny stomping out the fire, and it's these Pentecostals dancing and jumping around on stage. I mean, it wasn't quite that bad, but it was getting there.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
But
it was wild.
They just get a surge from the Lord or something, and it just gives them, they just start jumping around.
Yeah, acting like a bunch of crazy people. So that was interesting for me to. But speaking of full gospel, I didn't even think about it. Talk a little bit about that. But how did you get involved in the Full Gospel Businessmen's Network?
Because they were, a lot of the people from our church, from the Assembly of God church, went to Full Gospel, and they'd invite me. In fact, the way they invited me was, I'll pay for your dinner. You get a free dinner if you come to Full Gospel, because we always had a dinner.
Okay.
And they had to pay for so many dinners when they walked in the door. And then we ate. We always had a good meal because we were at Der Dutchman, yeah, in Florida.
Eating like kings.
So that's how they got. In fact, I started that in Indiana, going to Full Gospel.
Okay.
And then when I went to Florida, it was just easy for me to transition right into Full Gospel. But
you were part of that for years.
Yeah, I was a treasurer for many years, taking care of the money. And we never had any money problems for some reason.
They had a man that knew how to control it.
Yeah, and then later on they told me, yeah, you were the one putting money in there once in a while when we were low. You should have said something. I said, well, I was doing pretty good in Florida. At one time, they were talking about tithing. At one time, I told the Lord, I said, I want to tithe in comparison to what I want to make. And I did. I reached that level.
Wow.
It wasn't all at once, but I got to it just right before my retirement.
Wow.
And but I tithe all the time. I would, in fact, my tax lady, she said, do you have to pay for all the bills at the church? You don't have to pay for everything, because I had a pretty good chunk that I was paying. But anyhow, I'm not bragging on myself, but bragging on the Lord, because tithing is really it was for me, not for the church, because the more I tithe, the more it helped me. But people don't understand that.
Yeah.
So anyhow, if you've got any more questions about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about what Full Gospel Businessmen.
Oh, Full Gospel.
What is it? Full Gospel Businessmen's International?
Fellowship International.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
It started with a farmer in California. He was a big farmer in California, and he couldn't get people to come to church. So he thought if he could get people to come to a restaurant to hear a guy give his testimony, that's how they did it. They gave it, the guy come in, a farmer would get saved, then he would come in and give his testimony of how he got saved and how he prospered after that. And then they would, then people would get saved. In fact, they had altar call at this Full Gospel Businessman. They always had people getting saved and getting filled with the Holy Spirit. That was really their main thrust. People getting filled with the Holy Spirit and speaking in tongues.
Really?
Yeah. And I always asked for that. I wanted it so bad. And finally, when I went to Rhema Church, that's when I really got it.
Okay.
Because they actually taught it in the church. But a lot of these old churches, they say, well, the way you get filled with the Holy Spirit is you just get saved, and then gradually you get more and more and more. But that's not true. Because the apostles, Jesus told the apostles, have you been filled with the Holy Spirit since you were saved? We didn't even hear about the Holy Spirit, they said. So it's a complete different thing. To get speaking in tongues is different than getting saved. It's just another level.
Huh.
But anyhow, I would go to Full Gospel, and I just loved it. And finally, they put me in as treasurer, and of course, I kind of had to be there, couldn't miss.
Yeah,
and
you had to deal with the money.
Yeah, I did. I loved it because I did that for many years, treasurer. And when I wanted to leave, they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
When I moved up here, I was.
A lot of people didn't know what to do when
I left.
When you said you were leaving.
You can't leave. They didn't.
All them old ladies that used to help out and take care of their homes and whatever.
Yeah.
No more.
Yeah.
But the Full Gospel business thing was pretty cool because it was a tight-knit group too. And I mean, it was growing.
Yeah. And they had
real tight.
chapters all over the United States, plus in other countries. Like Mexico was big in Full Gospel. Germany, Hungary, all the England.
Really?
Oh yeah, they were all big in Full Gospel.
Interesting. So I wonder what it would take to make a chapter up here.
Well, they wanted me to get started up here, but I talked to some of the people in our church, but I don't know. It just didn't seem to work out. But I bet you if I talked to Russ,
Yeah. He may be involved.
He would know because it's a great thing. It's a good way to get people saved.
Yeah.
Buy their dinner. Hey, I'll buy you a dinner. You want to come listen to a guy giving his testimony? It wasn't going to church.
Yeah, and that's a big thing is testimonies are real life applications on how God has worked through people.
Yeah, that's right.
And got them out of drugs or got them out of whatever situation they might have been in.
Yeah.
And now they're just thriving because they've given their lives to God and let Him take control.
Yeah.
And so people can see a real life application instead of reading about the disciples and trying to like understand that and put themselves in their shoes. And I mean, we can't put ourselves in the disciples' shoes because we didn't have to walk everywhere we went. We have food anytime we want it. We didn't have whatever else they had to deal with. So it's different.
And I was drinking. In fact, I had a stomach ulcer from drinking.
Good
I had a
grief.
drinking ulcer at one time. Because I would drink gin and grapefruit juice. Now they told me what kind of drink that was, but I didn't. Anyhow, that ate a hole in my stomach, and I'll tell you, it was gross.
Yeah.
And then I got in the Amway business, and they got these vitamins. I started taking vitamins. So every time I heard somebody talking about stomach ulcers, I said, "We got the thing for you."
Yeah.
They take them vitamins, and that healed my stomach.
Look, you're a living testament to how well those vitamins work.
Oh.
You're 81 years old. We were just changing fascia out on my house, out in the sun, up and down ladders. You helped me on scaffolding on another job. I mean, you are a machine. And I'm sure a lot of that has to do with taking vitamins and kind of taking care of your health throughout your life.
It gives you power. It just gives you energy.
Yeah.
That you didn't have. And you get, and it's all organic, and you get the full, you get what your body needs. And
they don't put a bunch of filler in it like you do if you go to Walmart and get a vitamin.
And they say a lot of these vitamin companies, they have fields of hay out there, and if you let the hay dry, like our alfalfa is processed within minutes when it's cut. Yeah. Because if you let it dry too long, just like anything else, if you go out and cut lettuce off of your garden and you eat it right away, you get the full benefit of the protein or the potency.
Vitamins that are in it.
Yeah. And if you let it lay around for a couple of days, every day it loses.
That makes sense. It kind of dies and withers away.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so you're definitely a living testament to that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think. You did the full gospel thing. I think it would be cool if we try to get something started up here like that. I bet people would get involved with it.
Yeah.
And
I think too we would. We'd have somebody give a testimony. Like, I don't know if I want to put this on the thing here, but Preston, he has a Wednesday night thing that with homeless people and all that kind of stuff that he tries to help and works with them. And I'm sure Preston, we could get him to speak and all that and give his testimony.
He's got a good testimony. He came to our church and preached.
Yeah, he did.
So there's plenty of guys around here that got good testimonies that could encourage somebody.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's, even in these little towns, there's still a lot of people that need God.
Yeah.
So.
And we could get help from Florida to get this chapter started.
Yeah.
Because our chapter was one of the only ones that was, we had our 50th anniversary. We've been in service for 50 years, but now it's been at least 55, 56 years.
Yeah. Wow.
That our chapter in Florida was that old, but we've always had a lot of people. We had Sir Lionel LeCoux. He was the lawyer for the guy that went over in another country and they drank the Kool-Aid and all died.
Oh man.
Poison. And he was their lawyer.
My mind. Okay.
And this lady talked to him about coming to full gospel. I don't know how long we can go. But anyhow,
go as long as we want.
Talked to him about going to full gospel. And she said, okay, this next week is full gospel. And he says, well, yeah, but all these people are going over to Guyana or wherever they went to drink the Kool-Aid, and they all died. And the ones that didn't die, they shot him in the back of the head or something.
Oh, good grief.
But he was supposed to go to that. And he says, well, I promised you I'll go to full gospel. He came, the lawyer for that group, came to full gospel. He got saved, and he gave his testimony at our chapter in Sarasota.
Wow.
And we had
so that's the only reason he stayed alive.
Yeah, that's the reason it kept him alive. And we had over 300 people at that meeting at the Holiday Inn in Lido Beach in Sarasota.
Wow.
And I was there.
That's pretty cool.
Saw him, yeah.
So just so everybody can stay alive, don't drink the Kool-Aid, go to church.
Well, that's why that little saying goes around, well, you've been drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
You've been doing the same thing that they're doing. That's where that saying comes from.
Well, don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Don't drink the
It ain't no good. So, you got anything else you want to say? Something encouraging to people to, I don't know.
Get in the
dive
Word.
deeper into the Word.
Seek first a king. I had people working with me in Florida painting. Of course, I didn't say anything about my painting business in Florida, but I got into painting.
Yeah.
And I had people working with me, and they had a hard time making it. But I told the one guy, Matthew 6:33 says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then all these things will come together for you. You'll have all these things that you want if you seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And then you have all these things. Instead of having a problem, you want to do your drinking and you want to do your smoking or whatever you want to do, and you don't want to go to church and you can't figure out why you have problems.
Well, and that's the thing. I think people take that out of context in the sense that, well, if I, seek first, God's just going to give me everything I want. But when you put his kingdom and his righteousness first,
yeah,
your wants and your needs are totally different than the world.
That's right.
So then that seeking first and all these things will be added to you is so different looking than kind of like the worldly view of what that would mean.
Yeah.
It's not meaning, well, I'll get all the women, I'll get all the money, I'll get all the cars and all that. It's seeking him first and what he's wanting for you and his righteousness. And then he's going to take care of you.
Yeah, that's right.
Put God first in everything you do. So.
Put God first. Give and it shall be given. Pressed down, shaken together, good measure, running over.
There you go.
That's what the Bible says, those words.
Yeah. You had plenty of running over.
Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, I don't know.
That's about it.
Yeah, that's about it for now.
Okay. Well,
I should have made
I
a
hope
list
that
of
was.
stuff.
What's that?
I should have made a list of different things to talk about, but.
Well, that's okay. You did good. It was kind of like a little bio on you,
Yeah.
and a little bit about your testimony about getting out of the Amish and becoming a Christian.
Yeah.
And the change that made in your life.
Yeah.
And to know that the Amway business is really kind of something that kind of pushed you towards getting to God, along with having a Mennonite preacher talk to you about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of cool.
Well, the people that started the Amway business were Christians.
Yeah.
I mean, the Amway business is not a Christian business because businesses can't be Christian, but the leadership was Christians.
And I got to meet some of the top leaders of the Amway with you.
Yeah.
And they're amazing people.
They are.
They're just down to earth.
They will do anything for you to get you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's why it's, funny when people make fun of multi-level marketing or the pyramid. A business is a business.
Yeah.
And we work in a multi-level marketing scheme as it is.
That's right.
I mean, I work so that I can pay somebody else, so that they can pay somebody else. I mean, it's all a pyramid scheme.
That's
it
right.
all goes to the man.
Most corporations are pyramid. You have the president of the corporation and all the little workers down here.
But people think it's a get rich quick thing where you just join it and all of a sudden you're magically a millionaire.
Yeah.
You're joining a business.
But the reason
you have to work your business to make money.
The reason they speak against it is because they don't have the guts to do it.
Well, yeah. Not everybody's cut out to be an entrepreneur and a business owner.
That's right.
And sometimes I wonder why I've been doing it for 20 some odd years.
Well, yeah, but you got something that people need. I mean, your business, you're not working for somebody else that can fire you today and you're gone. You don't know what you're going to do it tomorrow.
Yeah, if I get fired from this job today, I'm thanking God because I get a day off.
Right.
So yeah, and then on top of that, you have taught me to be an entrepreneur because I started working with you when I was 18, and I was running heavy equipment and a shovel.
Yeah.
And I was getting sick of that, working 50 plus hours in the summer heat in Florida. And you called me up and said, Jared, I need you to come work with me. I'll pay you $12 an hour cash. And I said, yes, please.
And then it went to 25.
Yeah, and then ever since then, we just worked as partners.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
That's always been something interesting to me, too, is I've had so many people tell me, even multimillionaires, you don't work with family. Don't work with family. Never do that. Me and you have worked together forever.
Yeah.
And we've butt heads, but we work good together. Like,
yeah.
I
we
think
took care of each other.
I think I've had one other guy, Jacob, mold up to be the person like the team that we had, where we'd show up to a job and we just knew what each one of us had to do and we just make it happen. When me and Jacob would show up on a job, it was just like we'd get out of the truck and we knew what we had to do. Yeah. We just worked together as a unit. And that's a hard thing to find.
Yeah,
it's a hard thing to find. But yeah, so you've always taught me, if you want this, you get your butt out there and work for it. I remember as a kid going to Walmart and seeing the little motorcycles, the little motorcycle toys, and you're like, yeah, you can get that. If you get out there and work, make some money, you can come and buy it.
Yeah.
So here I'm at 8 years old mowing yards and
that's right. You had a lawn business at 8 years old.
Yeah. I had a good one by 13.
Finally, I bought you a riding lawnmower, and you paid that off.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing too. You always had enough money to fund my business ideas, I guess, or ventures.
Yeah.
Because you would say, all right, I'll buy it. You have to pay me back. So you would, and I'd just pay you back. I'd work and hustle and just did whatever I had to do to make money.
What's a little blue truck?
Yeah, my little Mitsubishi Mighty Max. Good grief. That truck I could probably barely fit in now. But yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I have to give you credit for is you've always taught me how to work hard. And if you want something, you work hard for it, and you don't make excuses. Don't make excuses for what's happening, whatever. You just get out and make it happen. Yeah.
Well, you got what you wanted.
Yeah.
And then you worked to keep it.
Yeah.
See, that's
because I didn't save up ahead of time. You taught me how to work hard, make money, and get what I wanted. I just needed the management class in the midst of all that. But I'm learning it. And like I said, I married a good woman that she's pretty good with managing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Nothing like a good woman.
Oh, that's very hard to find.
Yeah.
Been through plenty of them.
But if the men do their part, like it says, treat your wife nice, like the Bible says.
Yeah.
And if you do that, the woman will automatically come along.
Well, and that's the thing. A lot of men, they want their wives to follow them, and the men want to be the leader in the home. But they act like immature little kids.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And then they expect a woman to trust them in all the life's big decisions.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. If you want to be the leader, you want your wife to follow you, or actually be a helpmate. It's not like she's a secondhand thing. She's your helpmate. You have to step and be a leader. You can't act like a fool all the time and just do what you want and treat her like trash and expect her to want to follow you. That's not how it all works. So, yeah, I mean, man.
Yeah. Sunday,
that's a whole nother podcast.
I went to the gas station up here Sunday to get gas, and there's a lady there with kids, and she said, where do I get toilet paper? Where can I get some toilet paper? I said, you need toilet paper? She said, yeah. Then she gave me a story about her. She left her husband divorced her or something, and she had 6 or 7 kids. The oldest one was 14. And I said, I got a roll of toilet paper in my van. So I gave it to her. And I didn't realize that she didn't have any money or nothing until later on. That lady didn't have nothing, but I laid hands on her and prayed over her. And I said, you are going to prosper and things are going to change in your life.
Yeah.
And I prayed right there at the gas station, out there by the pumps.
Talk about street ministry.
Yeah, I prayed for her. She was a nice-looking lady, and she said either her son or her husband is in jail.
Okay.
And she's going through a divorce, and doesn't have any money, and and I said, are you going to church? She says, yeah, I go to church in Hackleburg. And I said, I go to church up here at CCF. At that time I went. She said, well, I live close to that. And I said, it's a pretty good church. Maybe you ought to go to that. She said, well, my church is pretty good. I said, well, as long as you're going to a good church, that's good. But they can help you. Let them know that you need help. But anyhow, I prayed for her. That's what's nice,
too, is your church does reach out to people that are in need and help them. And kind of like our church is doing, too, now. Uh-huh. But that's what we're called to do as a church, is to be helping those in need, helping the widows, helping the orphans and all that. So...
Yeah, I didn't ask
helping the community.
Yeah, that's it. And that lady, and then later on, I thought, good Lord, I had some money, and I could have gave her money, but sometimes you give people money and you don't really know what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, and people don't always need money. I mean, a lot of times the reason they're in that position is because they don't have.
Yeah, how can you be that bad a shape that you can't buy toilet paper?
Well,
I didn't have a Sears catalog.
Some of these men control their women to the point where they can't go work. They can't go do anything on their own.
That's it.
And so that when that man leaves, they literally have nothing. And that's where we as churches need to step up and start helping these people.
That's exactly right.
And you will start seeing a change in your communities when you step up and start helping those, instead of looking down on them and saying, oh, look at that, And that's hard for me, I see somebody on drugs, and I just want to keep going the other way. I don't want to lay hands on them and pray with them.
Yeah, the hardest part for me is to see somebody that needs money, they need work, yet they're puffing away on their
cigarettes,
on whatever they're puffing on, and they're drinking,
or their vapes,
and it's like, come on.
Yeah,
that's easy to give up.
Yeah, but they're stuck in bondage.
Oh yeah,
but
they open the door to the devil, and he steps right in and takes over.
That's right. Well, I think this is a pretty good podcast.
Okay,
it was fun having you on and kind of talking about your past and a little bit of what got you where you are now. And
I'll have to listen to it and see where I could have added some things, and then make notes.
Who knows if anybody asks more information on stuff, maybe we just have to have you back on and
then we'll make, like my friend, he says, well, these people have all these questions about the Amish and all this different things that they do. So he writes them down and then he answers them.
There you go. Yeah, we could do a Q&A.
Yeah. Okay.
So, all right, guys. Well, we love you guys. We appreciate you. I sure hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next week. We out. Thank you guys for listening. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram and follow us so you can stay up to date with latest podcast drops and content. Also, feel free to leave us a review on whatever streaming platform you're listening from. We'll catch you next week.